If you could ask a non-speaking autistic person how they experience the world and what's going on in their minds, what would you like to know? Speaking isn't the only way to convey ideas, nor is it superior to any other form of communication. Naoki Higashida, in his book The Reason I Jump, opens this world from the perspective of a non-speaking autistic teenager. Welcome back to my channel, Wormies. I'm Hannah and I have autism and ADHD. I make weekly videos on this channel rating the representation of neurodiversity in the media. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button to join the Nerdiverse Bookworm family and never miss out on a single recommendation. While most autobiographies are written by lower supports needs autistics, The Reason I Jump was written on an alphabet grid by a 13-year-old boy from Japan. This does bring some doubts as to how much of this book was written by Naoki himself, since this method of communication resembles facilitated communication, which has been proven to have considerable input from the facilitator, which in the case of this book was his mother. However, Naoki does have some ability to write and type on his own, so you can make your own conclusions. There are some places in this book that may read a little strangely, but perhaps that has more to do with the translation than anything else, as of course it was written originally in Japanese. Facilitated communication and writing using a letter grid falls under the category of AAC, which includes all methods of communicating outside of verbally speaking. AAC stands for augmentative and alternative communication. I didn't know very much about this, and it was fascinating to read more about it at the American Speech Language Hearing Association, which I will link you in the description below. Anyone can use AAC if they have trouble with their speech or language skills. Some people use AAC throughout their lives, and others may use AAC only for a short time, like when they have surgery and can't talk. There are a lot of different types of AAC. No-tech and low-tech options include things like gestures and facial expressions, writing, drawing, spelling words by pointing to letters, and pointing to photos, pictures, or written words. High-tech options include things like using an app on an iPad or a tablet to communicate, or using a computer with a voice, which is sometimes called a speech-generating device. And one person may use multiple kinds of AAC. AAC is essentially an adaptable set of tools to meet the needs of an individual person. The Reason I Jump is laid out in question and answer format with over 50 questions and short, usually one-page answers. Although I'm not non-speaking, and very rarely do I lose the ability to communicate verbally, there are still a number of things that I can relate to in the experiences Naoki talks about. For example, question 14, why do you ignore us when we're talking to you? He says, if someone's talking to me from somewhere far off, I don't notice. You're probably thinking, same here, yes? A major headache for me, however, is that even when someone's right here in front of me, I still don't notice when they're talking. Not noticing, however, is not the same as deliberately ignoring, but often people assume I must be arrogant or retarded. People around me always make me realize that I'm being spoken to by saying things like, say hello back then, Naoki, or what do you say then? So whenever that happens, I just repeat what I've been told to say like a minor bird learning a new word. Even though I feel guilty toward the person who has spoken to me, I can't even apologize, so I end up feeling miserable and ashamed that I can't manage a proper human relationship. A person who's looking at a mountain far away doesn't notice the prettiness of a dandelion in front of them. A person who's looking at a dandelion in front of them doesn't see the beauty of a mountain far away. To us, people's voices are a bit like that. It's very difficult for us to know someone's there and that they're talking to us just by their voice. So it would help us a great deal if you could just use our names first to get our attention before you start talking to us. In my experience, someone will usually need to get my attention. I may hear them, but it takes me a second to realize that they're talking to me. And I usually will ask them to repeat what they said. It's kind of like I'm a smart device, not particularly listening until you call the code word like Alexa or okay, Google, and it listens for a short period of time while you're still talking. But if you pause, then the attention turns off. That's kind of my experience. You have to get my attention first so that I'm focusing all of my attention on you to understand what you're saying. And I don't always hear that you're calling me until you call me maybe 2 or 3 times, especially if I'm concentrating on something. Naoki also mentions having difficulty with imitating movement, something that's also been complicated for me. For example, I have a hard time with mirror image. For example, especially when I was a kid, learning which hand to shake with or to imitate someone leading an exercise group, I would basically do the opposite side of them because I cannot turn myself and put them in their shoes. It just baffles me how this is obvious for some people. Question 17. Why do you wave goodbye with your palm facing yourself? When I was small, I used to wave goodbye with my palm facing inward when I was told, wave bye-bye. I found simple gym exercises and dancing quite impossible. The reason is that imitating movement is difficult for people with autism. Because we don't know our own body parts so well, moving those parts of the body we can track with our eyes is our first step toward imitating movement properly. I never understood people when they told me that I was waving goodbye the wrong way around until one day I saw myself in a full-length mirror. That was when I realized I was waving goodbye to myself. Question 39 talks about the common autistic draw to being in the water. When I was a child, my father called me Ducky because I just loved being in water. And to this day, I love swimming. And if I'm feeling overstimulated, it feels so quiet and calm, like a great big hug if I go swimming. And I love the pressure of the water around me. It helps me to calm down. And Naoki says, in the water, it's so quiet and I'm so free and happy there. Nobody hassles us in the water, and it's as if we've got all the time in the world. Whether we stay in one place or whether we're swimming about, when we're in the water, we can really be at one with the pulse of time. Outside the water, there's always too much stimulation for our eyes and our ears, and it's impossible for us to guess how long 1 second is or how long an hour takes. One of the stereotypes of autistic people is that we prefer to be alone. So when people don't want to invite us somewhere, they'll just say, oh, well, he prefers to be alone, so it doesn't matter if we don't include them. But that's not entirely true. Question 13 says, I can't believe that anyone born as a human being really wants to be left all on their own. Not really. No, for people with autism, what we're anxious about is that we're causing trouble for the rest of you or even getting on your nerves. This is why it's hard for us to stay around other people. This is why we often end up being left on our own. The truth is, we'd love to be with other people, but because things never, ever go right, we end up getting used to being alone without ever noticing this is happening. Whenever I overhear someone remark how much I prefer being on my own, it makes me feel desperately lonely. It's as if they're deliberately giving me the cold shoulder treatment. I relate to that a lot. Sometimes it's just easier for me to go off and be by myself because autism is primarily a social communicative disorder. And when you're by yourself, most of the troubling symptoms are gone. And I'm always worried that I'm secretly annoying people and they're just too nice to tell me, or that they just want me to go away, but they just tolerate me. And I never know. And it's hard to trust because of this. Another common experience autistic people have is being talked down to or seen as less intelligent or childish. Naoki says, "You can't judge a person by their looks, but once you know the other person's inner self, both of you can be that much closer. From your point of view, the world of autism must look like a deeply mysterious place, so please spare a little time to listen to what I have to say." He also answers the question about whether we would prefer to be talked to in simple, childish language if that would be easier for us to understand. Children with autism are also growing and developing every single day, yet we're forever being treated like babies. I guess this is because we seem to act younger than our true age, but whenever anyone treats me as if I'm still a toddler, it really hacks me off. I don't know whether people think I'll understand baby language better, or whether they think I just prefer being spoken to in that way. I'm not asking you to deliberately use difficult language when you talk to people with autism, just that you treat us as we are according to our age. Every single time I'm talked down to, I end up feeling utterly miserable, as if I'm being given zero chance of a decent future. True compassion is about not bruising the other person's self-respect. That's what I think, anyway. As a child, I always hated when I would go to a doctor's office and the staff would coo over me and treat me like a kid when I felt more like an adult, and this syrupy sweet language just disgusted me. Please, use normal words and explain things to me. I have a good vocabulary, I'm intelligent, and please treat me like that. I hate being spoken to like I'm an idiot, whether I was a child or even now as an adult. Just speak to me like a normal person, please. The final question I would like to consider is, would you like to be normal? Naoki says, "What would we do if there was some way that we could be normal? Well, I bet the people around us, our parents and teachers, would be ecstatic with joy and say, 'Hallelujah! We'll change them back to normal right now.' And for ages and ages, I badly wanted to be normal too. Living with special needs is so depressing and so relentless. I used to think it would be the best thing if I could just live my life like a normal person. But now, even if someone developed a medicine to cure autism, I might well choose to stay as I am. Why have I come around to thinking this way? To give the short version, I've learned that every human being with or without disabilities needs to strive to do their best, and by striving for happiness, you will arrive at happiness. For us, you see, having autism is normal, so we can't know for sure what your normal is even like. But so long as we can learn to love ourselves, I'm not sure how much it matters whether we're normal or autistic. I don't want a cure either, not because I'm a low supports needs autistic. There's still plenty of frustrating things about being autistic and ADHD, such as sensory issues and certain communication problems. But I've come to realize that it's impossible to separate the good from the bad. And I have to accept that if I want to experience the high highs of life and have my great intelligence, I have to accept that it's going to come with these downsides, and I just need to learn to deal with it, because the bad parts are not constant and will not last forever without being interspersed with some definite advantages that being autistic confers on me. However, if there were a way to minimize these distressing aspects without losing the advantages, then I certainly would be all in favor for curing the things that distress us most as autistic people, not what makes us more comfortable for other people to be around. Overall, I give The Reason I Jump a score of 3. For authenticity, it's 3 because there's a question of how much was written by Naoki's mother versus Naoki himself. For me, it's also a 3 for relatability because I'm not non-speaking and I don't experience things exactly as he did. I would love to hear thoughts on this book from people who struggle more with autism or are more similar to Naoki. It's a 1 on the diversity scale, for it's only the experiences of one boy from Japan, and we're very diverse, very different. If you've met one autistic, you've only met one autistic. The Reason I Jump is a 5 on both the thought-provoking scale and the accessibility scale. It's written in question and answer format. The font is easy to read. It's comfortable to hold. There's plenty of white space. I love the illustrations, and it's all around a quick and easy read and gives a great insight into the world and minds of people we may otherwise never understand. Whether The Reason I Jump was truly all written by Naoki, it is still a thought-provoking book, a plea to be understanding and patient with people who seem weird or present with challenging behavior. Even though I can't fully understand the world of someone more affected by autism, I can still relate to many things Naoki talks about, and I believe that curiosity and patience can go a long way in breaking down barriers and understanding, helping people whose worlds and experiences may be so different from your own. I want to share with you a comment written by someone in a group for non-speaking autistics and their allies. Perhaps this will help you to understand how you can better communicate with them. Next time you meet a non-speaker, dare to assume that they can understand everything that is said to and about them. Dare to overlook their atypical body language and address them directly. Dare to speak to them as you would to any other individual of the same age. They can't answer you, so don't ask questions that will hang heavily and awkwardly in the air between you. Instead, think about the age of the person and chat with them in a way that doesn't demand a response. Try something like this. "Sam, so nice to see you. You're looking sharp today. I hope you have a great week." Non-speakers who become fluent on the letterboard have a great deal to say about this topic. They talk about how difficult it is to be continually underestimated and continually presumed to have a significant cognitive delay. They talk about how refreshing it is when someone treats them like they matter, like they're present, like they have a brain. So, next time you have the opportunity to interact with a non-speaker, be to them that breath of fresh air, speak directly to them, dare to assume that they can understand. The watchword in the autism and disability community is presume competence. Always presume competence, even if the person appears like they may not understand or be able to comprehend something. Have you read The Reason I Jump? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you're looking for more neurodiversity media content, click here to see my latest review. And of course, don't forget to like, comment what you would like to see me review next, and subscribe to not miss the latest review. Happy reading!